guys, welcome to Mama Tries. So today, as some of you have requested, is I'm going to show you how to sew by hand. Okay, so I have several pieces of fabric here. I have this cream, kind of tanny cream color with this little paisley design. I have gray with polka dots, and I have this white with lines on it, white lines on it. And we are going to actually make curtains and some bedding and some pillows for my husband's dollhouse that he's making. So if you're interested in this dollhouse, once it's completed, let us know. He is going to be selling the dollhouse after it's completed and after we finished all the videos and stuff. So we will let you know where it's going to be posted and everything when we're done. Alright, so anyway, so with the dollhouse, he wants to do somewhat of a modern type look. He still wants that country feel, but with the modern, and that's why we chose these fabrics, because they were pretty modern, but they were pretty simple that they can go with a country feel as well. So, like I said in videos before, my machine is not working properly. And presently, I do not have the time to figure out what's the problem, if I could possibly fix it. Because in the past, I've adjusted the tension in the sewing machine. I've adjusted how much space is in between each stitch, and it doesn't seem to want to work. It will start going up and down, and then all of a sudden, like part of the way through, it'll go down and not come back up again. And I've took out the bobbin, took everything out, and re-threaded everything, and it just doesn't want to keep going. So since I don't have time to figure that out, we're going to hand sew. So since these are white and creamy and that kind of thing, I am going to be using this 3-ply polyester thread in color 5572. It does look a little fuzzy and black because it's only been sitting up against my black thread. Yeah, most of my things are polyester kind of thread. I can actually show you a lot of the other threads that I have, and I might actually do something different than this now that I'm thinking about it, because I'm looking at it against the white, and it looks great against the cream color, and it looks great against the white and gray, but the white, it just does not work. So I might end up having to go and get all of my threads and then figure out which one works. Based on how you guys see it, what's going on with this lighting I have going on here, because over here it looks right, but in here under the lights it looks wrong. This is the one that I'm concerned about, is the white with the white stripes. So anyway, so I'm going to get all that thread, and we'll figure out which thread I will use, and I will let you know what kind of thread, what the color code is. So if you like this and you find this fabric, you can find also the same thread. This particular thread is from Walmart. It's the two for $1 Walmart thread. So if you like this creamy color, minus the little fuzz balls from my black, it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of like a cream. It's not quite white, it's not off-white, it's like a cream. You can see the color better here than here. Here it looks kind of like a light tan. Here is actually the cream color. So it is a really nice color. Anyway, so I'm going to find that out, figure out which cream or which white or which thread I'm going to use, and we're going to get started. And I'm going to show you how to thread the needle the way that I find that's easiest to thread the needle. If you have trouble seeing, you might want to use a little magnifying glass. They like sit on your glasses, or you can wear the ones that are glasses or you can have the magnifying glass that's here that has the light on it. So there's several different ways if you cannot see it. If you can see the hole for the thread to go through, I'm going to show you how to do that, okay? The way that I find that's easiest, okay? There's plenty of different ways. It's just the one that I find easiest. So let's get started. Okay, so I pinned this in a way that this is basically how thick you know, a curtain rod for our dollhouse would probably be. Is going to be about this. So I stuck this in here to make sure that it would go all the way across, no problem, and then pinned it. So right where I stitched the last time when I was doing this, I folded it over. Right where I stitched is where I'm going to stitch again to create the little loop, so that way I can slide the bar through, and that's the way my curtain's gonna look. So I pinned both of them like that, so that way I had them ready. So now all I do is continue the same stitching that I did throughout the whole entire thing, but now at this point it would be here. And this is just under 14 inches, but I held it up to where the curtain is, or where the window is in the dollhouse, and this fits perfectly. So yeah, so the window is actually 3.5 inches, and I have it at 3 3/4. So I think next time if I need to, I'm gonna actually, instead of measuring it out at 14, I'm gonna measure it out at 15. That way I could have it exactly at a round number. So yeah, let's get started on sewing that. And then I'm going to start working on a pillowcase, so that way you guys can see how I make the pillowcases and how to stitch the pillowcases. So I'm going to work on this. You guys get to work on it. And you can pause the video at this point, so that way at least you have time to do this before I start working on to the next thing. And then we are going to start working on the pillow. So I will do it slowly and step by step for the pillow with you guys after this. So pause the video so that way you guys can do this, and then unpause it when you're ready to move on to the next. Okay, so here is the pillows. So I just cut a strip like this. It's about more or less just under 2 inches. Okay, so I did little strips like that, folded them in half the long ways on the wrong side. You can tell a lot of the fabric what is the wrong side and what is the right side, because you can obviously see that this is darker, or I mean this is lighter than the actual print. So this is the wrong side. Now things like this that there is, you can't see which side is the wrong side or the right side. That one you don't have to worry about. So we have it like this, and what we're going to do is we're going to go along the edges of all of this. And we're only going to, since we have a folded side, we're only going to do this side and this side. We're going to leave this side open. Reason being is that we need to be able to right side out and then stuff it, and then I'll show you how to sew it closed. So you're going to again get your thread threaded through your needle. You're going to go in. Now here's where I told you that things are going to be a little bit different. You can start from this side, you can start from that side. This is just easier for me. You're going to thread it through the first time. Now you're going to thread it through again, really close to it. You're going to try and keep all your stitches extremely close. You're going to take your thread back here, okay? You're going to loop it, so that way the needle is inside the circle. And you're going to pull through. You're going to go to the next spot, right next to it, as close as possible. Go over, and then pull through. You're going to continue this all the way to the end on both sides. Pull it through. Take the back here, make a loop, a circle, pull through. Thread it in, make a loop, pull through. Push it through, loop, pull through. And always try to keep this as straight as possible. Pull it out as you're doing each stitch. That way it doesn't bunch up on you, because it can do that. See, hold the fabric so that way it doesn't pull all the way. And this way also you can see exactly where you're putting the previous stitch when you hold it this way and you're pulling it tight. That way you can do them relatively close by. And try to keep your edges close to being straight as possible. Because if the fabric slides, then it messes up the whole entire pillow. Okay, so now you get to the end and you do your last stitch. Now what you're going to do is you're going to put this through those top stitches. As you can see on yours, you can see it across. You're going to put it into the last top stitch and you're going to loop it. And this is creating a knot in that stitch. You're going to do it twice. And then you can cut that part off. Then you're going to do the other side exactly the same, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to reverse it. Okay, so I've sewed both sides, so now we're just going to open this up. What I do is I stick my finger all the way in as much as possible, hold this side with this finger, and then slowly slide it off my thumb and onto my pointer finger. So when I do that, it reverses it out. Now you can take a marker, a pen, and just do the corners and try to point them as much as possible. I'll use this thing. Not this one, that one. Okay, there we go. And so now you have basically the case of the pillow. So now we got to fill it up with a cotton ball. So let me get the cotton ball. If you have batting or filling or something like that, you could use that. But if you don't and you got cotton balls, use a cotton ball. I break them apart so that way they're more fluffier that way, instead of just feeling this big giant ball. Feels more like a pillow too. And you can manipulate smaller areas better. I want to say with this kind of pillow, probably need 2 cotton balls just to make it nice and fluffy. Perfect. 2 cotton balls. So the fabric piece that we were using was about 15 inches. I mean, not 15, 5 inches. So 5 inches, and we only cut a little under 2 inches. And it covers fills in with 2 cotton balls. So now what you're going to do is you're going to roll these edges in. This is where you kind of have to be ambidextrous. Maybe that's not even the word. Okay, so you roll those edges in, and then what you're going to do is you're going to pin it like that. Let me get a pin. I'm going to pin over on this edge and right about here. Now the reason why you roll it and you pin it is to keep it closed while you sew. And the same stitches you did on this side, you're going to go very close to the edge, and you're going to do the same thing on that. So let's knot our thread and go ever so close to the edge. Now I do it to the edges because that way you don't really notice it as much, and you can always cut all this extra that's there. And I go twice. I go one direction, I go that way, and then I go back to that knot. That way there's only one spot where there's a knot. And I know that this is secured. And also, while you're doing this, you could also get a workout by sucking in your stomach and really squeezing those muscles. Sewing workout. Isolations. Or isometrics. Isolations. Something with isolating muscles. Do you know what word I'm trying to look for? Because apparently I cannot find the words to anything I'm thinking of. Comment it in the comment section below and let me know what it's called. Isometrics, isolations. Going back. Now this time I'm doing larger gaps between stitches because I already did the smaller gaps. Now when you're going back over that knot, you're kind of bringing it smaller and closer so it works out nicely when you go to cut off. I go back through those top knots and then make a knot myself. Loop it over, pull it off. And there we go. There's your pillow. You take out all of the stuffing from being smushed on the other side. And there you go. You have a nice little pillow there. And you do the same thing to the other one. So now we have curtains and pillows. Okay, so guys, that's how you make the pillows. So you have two pillows, you have the two panels. Now whether or not you do it this way or you do it this way, it's up to you and the size of the window that you're doing, if you do a dollhouse window. Now if you do a normal size window, for your bedroom or your living room or whatever, use a sewing machine, because to do that by hand is like insane. I know that way back when, if they needed any tapestry done or anything like that, they just hired someone to do it, unless you know, it was in the time that sewing machines were invented that they used a sewing machine themselves, but most cases they did it by hand or they had someone else do it that could do it by hand. It would take a long time, and that's why it was so expensive, and not many people had curtains up, especially poor people would not be able to afford beautiful curtains and stuff like that. If they wanted something to cover the window for any which reason, they would just throw a blanket on there. But pretty much it was done by machine for large curtains. For dollhouse curtains and stuff, you can do it by hand, and those are the two different kinds of stitches that I can teach you that I personally know and I use very often. So please like this video, share it, invite friends, subscribe, hit that notification bell to get notified of new videos that I post. And if there's anything that you guys want to see me try doing, let me know in the comment section, or you can go to my Facebook group called Mama Tries on my Facebook group. And you can make suggestions there, take part in some polls. You can even find out when I post new videos on there as well. And it will bring you right back to my channel. So I will see you guys in the next video. I am going to let my fingers get a break from all the sewing. So I'll see you guys. Bye. Okay, so I found this. This is a very light gray, almost white, and it looks really nice against this. As you can see, it looks really great against all of them. Okay, now here's my thread. I always keep it in my black spool because constantly having to sew something black. So here's my thread, here's my needle. Now this is one way that you can thread a needle, and some people find this easier. Look at that. I'm working on a project with my husband and I still have glue all over me. Okay, anyway, so all you do with this thing is you put the thread, you put the needle, put this through the needle. Okay, so there it is through the needle. Like, I can literally let go and it's hooked on. You put the thread through here and then you pull it through. Now this is the most easiest way, especially when you cannot see and you don't have a magnifying glass or magnifying glasses. This is the easiest way to thread the needle. But say you don't have this thing. My easiest way is you just wet a little on the tip. Okay? Now I just dunked my fingers in some water and then cut off any fray ends. So that way it is crisp right there on the end. Okay? Okay. Then you just take the hole. Now this is if you can see, and because you wet it, it slides right through, no problem. When you don't wet the end and you don't cut it blunt and squared off, it really can't go through the needle properly. You'll have all these pieces, and then as you're pulling it out, you're unraveling the thread itself. So those are the two easiest ways to thread a needle. Okay? That's my biggest suggestion on that. So I'm just going to put this aside for a second just so that I can get my fabric cut the way that I want it. Now I have 4 inches of each of these, and they were on a 46-inch bolt. So all the way from end to end, it's 46 inches. So now I'm only doing a curtain. Now the window that I'm covering with this as the curtain is only about 4 inches, so it comes from here to here. So that's how big the window is. I do have one that is 6 inches long, but the height of it is only about 3 inches. So I'm going to do that at 4 inches. So that way I have a little bit on the top and a little bit in the bottom. So because I'm doing it like that, I want to bring the last strip. This is my little edge that I have here. We are folding this under, so we're not using this piece. So we're going to measure from here up. So I want it 4 inches. So I'm going to be cutting here. I don't count this, okay? Now I want the same for the second panel, because this is going to be one panel, this is going to be the second panel. If I was doing a window that was 4 inches tall and 3 inches wide, then I would change this up. So then I would do, is 3 inches wide, 4 inches tall, so I would do it at 15 inches. So not counting this edge, the salvage edge, I would go to 15. Okay? So I'm only doing a short window. So here's my salvage edge, running it along there. So I'm going to cut here. So there's my 2 panels that I'm going to have for my window that goes horizontally. So now it's going to be way bigger than my actual window, only because we're going to sew this end, the bottom end, and then we're going to double sew the top end. So we're going to go like this, and folding it over, we're going to sew a stitch along the bottom there. Then we're going to sew another stitch halfway. Reason for that is that we're eliminating this edge, and also we're curling it under. So we're eliminating the hard edge, the uneven edge, but also we're making a loop for our curtain run to go through. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Oh my God, I am so sorry. They hit my door and it scared me. I am so sorry. That's what happens with kids. I'm sorry. Anyway, I already lost track of, oh, so the pole is going to go through the 2 pieces. Now, the same concept that I'm having with the doll houses, you can do on a larger scale. It's just going to take a heck of a lot more time without a sewing machine. This is going to be a lot easier for me without the sewing machine because it's on a smaller scale. So we're going to do the same thing to both pieces, making sure that we are doing this the right height. So this is the top one. And then we are also using pins to pin our areas so that way it's exact match to each other, okay? Now, what I'm doing with the thread is I'm taking, okay, so I'm going to cut, I'm going to measure this edge to edge. You're going to keep pulling this all the way over until I get to 36 inches, which is 1 yard, which is technically 2 yards of thread, but because it's folded in half, it's 1 yard. So there's my 1 yard of thread all ready to go, and I have the 2 edges here. What I do is I take the edge of the thread on the middle finger, hold it there, go around my top finger and loop it over. Now what I do is I just run my fingers back and forth until it creates its own little knot on the edge of the thread. So if I wanted to double knot that, I would go over, back over, and then rub until it twists, and then pull it down to the edge. So there's my knots. So now my string is ready, and all I have to do is pin. So on the side edges, I'm going to fold it in. going to pin every so often on the fabric. And I'm going to go from top to bottom like this. Okay? And I'm going to do that all the way to the edge and do the same thing on this side. Now this side was not cut straight, so if you see I have a shorter edge and a longer edge. Don't worry about that. Once we pin it, we'll cut a little bit more of a straighter line. But I'm trying to match up the lines when I fold, so that way it looks right. Okay. So I'm just going to cut a straight line to make that straight. There we go. Now, you can do one way. There's two different ways that you can do this. The way that I particularly going to do it is I'm going to be looping it in. That way I'm creating this different edge. Okay? So, now, I don't know the specific terminology for a lot of these things, but I'm starting this edge right on this corner only, and I'm pulling it through, and then I'm coming back in and pulling it through again. Now what I'm doing here is creating this like knot type thing, so I'm going to loop under and over, so that way it's inside the circle if you look at it. I'm only doing this first stitch like this. Reason being is that I'm making sure that that will not move. Okay? You can do a second one and that's fine. You go in, loop it around so it's inside the circle. So when you pull like this, the needle is in the circle. Okay, now the rest of this I'm going to stitch normal. And the reason why I'm only doing it on the corner edges, so I'm going to do it on all four corners, is because when I roll it in, it's going to disappear. So it's not going to make a difference that that's like that. But I'm just making that like that so that way it's a nice steady knot. So now you're going to go forward and put it in with a little gap between the last two knots. And then you're going to bring it back in where you started, closer to the knot. Reason for that is you create a stitch on both ends that is reinforced. So now I go further. So now it's a big gap between the two there. Bring it through and go back in. Make sure you keep this fabric straight when you're pulling through. So now you see that there is a straight line there. And you continue to do that all the way through. When you get to the end, you're going to do that loop knot on the end. So you're going to go forward and try to keep your line as straight as possible. And back in. See where I'm going back in? So we're going to go all the way across doing the same thing. Now if you get into a knot, just take it slowly, okay? Sometimes it's not even a knot. Sometimes it's just the thread. Needs to be straightened out, see? Whenever you fall into something that you think is a knot, just take it slowly. This hand sewing requires a lot of patience. So having the time to do this is very important. So take your time, go through it slowly. If there's a lot of distractions, wait until there's less distractions, because you don't want to prick your finger, because that doesn't feel very good. If you want, me personally, I don't like these things, but there's something called a thimble, and basically it's so that way you don't prick your finger. So if you stab this, you're stabbing into the metal, not your finger. I personally don't like this because sometimes I go based on feeling. So if I push through and I feel the indent we're pushing through, then I can go like that. So that's me personally. But there's a lot of people that will prefer a thimble to bring it through and not jab their finger. So that's something that you might want to invest in if you are still learning and trying to figure things out and figure out how it feels to do everything. So a thimble is really good. I do have like 3 of them because every new thread kit that I buy comes with a thimble. Alright, so this is another learning. If you ever go through the wrong way, it's okay. You go back through where you came from. It's okay. So there we go. And then you keep moving. Straightening this out, because when you're straightening it out, you keep the thread from bunching, so then you have more of a straighter line too. So now I'm back to the corner. So again, I'm going to go over. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to take this thread, see how both of them are on this side? I'm going to go over, so that way it's inside the thread. Now this kind of stitch is what you would normally use on a pillow, that you would hold the 2 edges together, and it works out really nice. It creates a nice reinforced edge on pillows on the insides before you flip them. Put it through, loop, and it creates this kind of edge that you have the thread knotting on the edge here. So that's how you get that edge. And then what you do to tie off that string, so that way then you can cut it off, is bring it through that top edge. Loop it, tie through. Now you're making a knot off the top. Do it twice, flip it off, as close to the knot as possible. So there's your first edge. Real nice, real simple. You do it to 3 of the edges. Continue doing that to 3 of the edges. So you're going to do both sides first, and then you're going to flip it in, and you're going to do the bottom edge. Once you've gotten all that done, then we will come back, or you can pause this video while you work on that, and then we will work on the top edge. So go ahead and pause this video so that you can get both of the panels done on 3 sides, just like what we just did. All right?